Japan's izakaya have long been one of the most iconic parts of its nightlife. Warm lanterns glowing in narrow streets, the sound of glasses clinking, small wooden counters packed with salarymen unwinding after work. But across Japan today, something is changing. Izakayas are closing at a record pace, and one of the country's most defining social spaces may be slowly disappearing. So what's happening to Japan's izakaya culture, and why is it struggling to survive? Today we'll look into this troubling trend for both tourists and locals alike. To understand the issue, you first have to understand what an izakaya actually is. The word izakaya roughly translates to stay, drink, place. And that definition pretty much tells you everything about it. Unlike restaurants built purely for eating, izakayas are designed for lingering with friends and companions, and even strangers. For ordering one dish, then another drink, then another round of small plates shared across the table, kind of like Spanish tapas, but distinctly Japanese, of course. But the roots of izakaya go back much further than modern nightlife. Some of the earliest forms can be traced to the Edo period, when sake sellers began allowing customers to drink on-site rather than just buying alcohol to take home. Over time, these evolved into standing drinking shops, then small seated establishments, and eventually the modern izakaya we recognize today. After World War II, izakayas exploded in popularity. Japan's rapid economic growth created a massive salaryman or businessman workforce. And with it came a new ritual, after-work drinking. In Japan, this wasn't just about alcohol, it was about hierarchy, bonding, and unwinding after long hours in the office. The izakaya became a second office, just with beer instead of paperwork. By the 1980s and 1990s, izakayas were everywhere. Entire streets in Tokyo, Osaka, and Fukuoka were lined with them. And at their peak, they weren't just restaurants, they were a cultural institution. But today, that foundation is starting to crack. One of the biggest reasons is pretty simple. People are drinking less. Japan's younger generations are consuming significantly less alcohol than their parents and grandparents. Contrary to popular belief abroad about Japanese workers, long work hours are also declining. Company drinking culture, known as nomikai, is fading. And without those regular group drinking sessions, izakayas lose their most reliable customers. At the same time, Japan's population is aging and shrinking. Fewer working-age people means fewer nights out after work, and fewer nights out means less demand for the traditional izakaya experience. Then came another major shock: rising costs. Ingredients, rent, and labor costs have all increased, but izakayas operate on a model that depends on volume, small margins, high turnover, and late-night crowds. When those crowds begin to shrink, the economics collapse quickly. Even popular locations these days are struggling to stay profitable. And according to recent reports, closures are now happening at a record pace across the country. And then there's tourism. Japan has seen a massive surge in international visitors in recent years, and on the surface, that should be good news for izakayas. But the reality is a bit more complicated. Many tourists stick to major food districts, well-known chains, or places with English menus, which many smaller izakaya lack. Smaller local izakayas often struggle with language barriers, ordering systems, and cultural differences in dining etiquette. So even though tourism is booming overall, it isn't evenly helping one of the businesses most in need. But not all izakayas are disappearing equally. Large chains are adapting quickly, and in some cases thriving. Companies like Watami, one of Japan's most recognizable izakaya operators, have shifted towards standardized menus, family-friendly branding, and streamlined service models. Another major player, Tori Kizoku, has built its entire identity around one thing: affordable yakitori and drinks at a flat price point. That simplicity has made it incredibly resilient, especially among younger customers. Then there is Monte Rosa, the company behind brands like Uotami and Shirokiya, which operates hundreds of locations across Japan. These chains rely on consistency, central kitchens, and digital ordering systems, usually bilingual, to keep costs down and appeal to both locals and tourists. In many ways, they are becoming the new face of izakaya culture. But I would argue something is being lost in the process. Compare going to a small, single-owner izakaya and a huge chain, and you will notice the difference in experience. At the big chains, you'll notice the lack of personality, individuality, and fun unpredictability that make the authentic izakaya experience a true part of the Japan food and culture experience. For me personally, I rarely go to the big chains. I prefer the smaller, personalized joints. So the question becomes, can izakayas survive in their traditional form? The answer is complicated. Some are evolving as much as they can, adding multilingual menus, QR code ordering, and more tourist-friendly layouts. Others are repositioning themselves as premium dining experiences rather than casual work spots. And some are going heavily on the social media route to attract younger people. But some are simply closing their doors for good. What's clear is that the izakaya is no longer just a given part of Japanese life the way it once was. It is now something that has to actively compete for survival. For travelers, this shift creates a strange kind of urgency. I really recommend you be brave and check out a small izakaya on your next visit while they still exist. With translation apps, communication is much more doable than in the past. And you'll get to experience the crowded counters, the loud laughter, and the feeling of stepping into a space that belongs entirely to local Japanese life that you just don't get with the big chain experience. A big additional question isn't just why izakayas are disappearing, but what Japan's nightlife will look like when they're gone, and whether anything can truly replace them. If you've been to an izakaya in Japan, I'd be curious. Did it feel like a timeless experience, or like something that was already changing? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, if you like this video, please like and subscribe to the channel to get more interesting tidbits from Japan.